The Conrath had one question for humanity, and it did not care who died to hear the answer. It arrived in a ship that bled, not metal but a viscous, luminous fluid that hissed as it crystallized in Earth's atmosphere. By the time the craft gouged a crater into the lunar surface, its pilot was already dying, its multi-jointed limbs dissolving into the same eerie plasma that coated the walls. The message it broadcast was not a plea, but a demand. Reverse entropy. Humanity's brightest scrambled. Physicists proposed negentropy fields. Philosophers debated the ethics of cosmic-scale intervention. Theologists called it a test. All failed. Then, in the silence following a particularly humiliating round of proposals, a voice cut through the static. A janitor, cleaning the observation deck where the alien ship smoldered, muttered, "Black holes. Use 'em like batteries." The room froze. The janitor, a man with a face like cracked leather and a reputation for salvaging wrecks, shrugged. "Spin 'em up. Drain their energy." Boom. Entropy reversed. The Conrath's response was immediate. Its ship pulsed, and the janitor's words echoed back, distorted, "We tried this. It ends." No one understood the warning. Not yet. But the alien's final act, its plasma gone, its form crumbling, left a stain on the moon's surface, a jagged glyph that hummed with latent energy. A countdown. Somewhere in the dark between stars, something stirred. The janitor's idea spread, a spark in the void. It would ignite debates, alliances, betrayals. It would bind a disgraced engineer and a rogue ethicist in a fight to redefine survival, and it would begin, as all endings do, with a question. But questions, like stars, often collapse under their own weight. Chapter 1. The moon hung like a bleached skull in the black, its pocked surface reflecting Earth's frail blue light. Bren Veyth moved through the derelict outpost with the practiced slouch of a man who'd stopped giving a damn. His boots scuffed regolith fused to the floor by decades of micrometeorite impacts, each step kicking up ghosts of dust that glinted in the emergency lamps. The air recyclers hummed a dirge. Somewhere, a pipe hissed, a sound he'd learned to tune out, like the guilt. He paused at a junction, thermal scanner in hand. The readout blinked, anomaly detected in jagged green letters. Bren spat into his mask. Anomaly. The word meant nothing here. The whole outpost was an anomaly, a tomb for the Event Horizon Initiative, a failed attempt to mine helium-3 before the colony's backers bled out. Now it was just another carcass for scavengers like him. He'd already stripped the fusion cores. All that remained were the bones. But the scanner buzzed again, insistent. Bren frowned. The signal wasn't coming from the outpost. It was beyond out there, in the dark between the stars. He cycled through the airlock, the outer door groaning open to reveal a crater he'd mapped a dozen times. Except tonight, the crater wasn't empty. The craft, if you could call it that, looked like a splinter of obsidian, its edges fractal and wrong. It pulsed faintly, a dying heartbeat. Bren's throat tightened. He'd seen enough crash sites to know this wasn't human. The hull wasn't metal or composite. It was alive, veins of bioluminescent fluid, threading through a membrane that shuddered as he approached. A sound. Not the hum of engines, but a voice, low, resonant, scraping at the inside of his skull. Answer. Bren stumbled back, hand fumbling for the plasma cutter on his belt. The voice came again, layered and genderless, like wind through a canyon. Answer the last question. Inside the outpost, Sera Kyn watched the same signal bleed across her holoscreen. Her fingers trembled above the keyboard. The message repeated in binary. A desperate loop. Reverse entropy. The AI she'd built, Axiom, had once parsed such riddles in milliseconds. But Axiom was gone, its last act a colony's worth of dead. She slammed a fist into the terminal. The pain grounded her. Focus. The signal originated from the western quadrant, coordinates matching the old initiative outpost, which meant scavengers would already be swarming it. Scavengers like him. Bren Veyth's file glared from her secondary screen. Dishonorable discharge. Manslaughter charges. Dropped. A dozen permits to strip derelict stations. A mercenary. Not a thinker. Useless. Except he'd been at the outpost when the signal hit. Sera grabbed her toolkit. The corridors outside her lab were cold, the walls streaked with rust. She hadn't left the sublevel in weeks. Sunlight, synthetic or otherwise, felt like a myth. By the time she reached the airlock, Halleck's mercenaries were already there. Their leader, a slab of a man named Rix, grinned at her through his visor. Orders are orders, Kyn. You're coming with us. She didn't argue. Arguing meant acknowledging she cared what happened to Bren Veyth. The alien was dying. Bren knelt beside the craft, its pulsing dimmer now. The membrane had split, revealing a skeletal figure within. Translucent skin, too many joints, eyes like collapsed stars. It reached for him, tendrils of black fluid leaking from its fingers. Answer, it rasped. He hesitated, then because he'd never been good at shutting up, he said, "You're asking the wrong guy. I fix engines. I don't do cosmic riddles." The alien's hand spasmed. "Your kind has failed. Your minds are noise." "Yeah? Well, your ship's a piece of, listen." The voice sharpened, slicing through his sarcasm. "Entropy devours. You must reverse." Bren's jaw tightened. He'd seen entropy up close, a reactor breach, frozen faces behind cracked visors, the way the universe ground things down, slow and relentless. You want to stop it. Use black holes. Drain their spin, their batteries, right? Boom. Problem solved. The alien went still. Then with a sound like shattering glass, it whispered, "We tried this. It ends." Before Bren could ask what that meant, the ground shook. Raiders. They came in low, skimming the regolith on repulsor bikes, their headlights spearing the dark. Bren cursed. His plasma cutter wouldn't dent their armor. But Sera, she emerged from the airlock, flanked by mercenaries. Her eyes locked onto the alien, then him. For a heartbeat, he saw something raw in her gaze. Recognition. Then she was moving, fingers dancing over a holopad. The outpost's ancient defense grid whirred to life. Bren ducked as a drone turret erupted from the crater wall, spraying the raiders with shrapnel. One bike flipped, its rider tumbling into the void. Another veered straight at Sera. He didn't think. He reacted, triggering the grapple on his belt, lashing it to the raider's bike. The world lurched as he swung into the rider, shoulder checking him off. The bike careened into a ridge, exploding in a bloom of white heat. When he looked up, Sera was there, her face pale in the firelight. "Black holes," she said, voice steady despite the chaos. "That's your answer. Better than whatever the eggheads came up with." Her lips quirked, a flicker of something he couldn't place. They tried reversing entropy through negentropy. It failed. Shocker. The alien groaned. Bren turned. Its form was dissolving, fluid pooling around what remained. "Warn your kind," it gurgled. "The answer is death." Then it was gone, leaving only a stain and the echo of Halleck's voice over the comm. "Bring them back. Alive." The ride back to the mercenary ship was silent. Sera sat across from Bren, her attention fixed on a datapad. He studied her. She was all sharp angles and shadows, her dark hair streaked with silver. A thinker, the kind who'd probably never held a plasma cutter. But when the raiders' reinforcements came, she surprised him. The ambush hit fast. 4 ships, all teeth and thrusters. Bren braced as Rix shouted orders, but Sera was already moving. She plugged into the mercenary ship's nav system, her fingers a blur. "Hold on," she said. The engine screamed. The ship lurched sideways, dodging a missile that grazed the hull. Bren gripped his seat, adrenaline surging. "You're enjoying this," he accused. She didn't look up. "You're welcome." They limped into orbit, the alien's words burning in Bren's mind. "The answer is death." He glanced at Sera, She'd saved him, sure, but for Halleck's sake, not his. Still, as Earth's curve filled the viewport, blue and fragile, he wondered if she'd heard the same desperation in the alien's voice that he had. Halleck greeted them in the docking bay, his scarred face unreadable. Report. Sera stepped forward. The Quinrith's question isn't hypothetical, it's a warning. Their species tried Bren's solution and, I don't pay you to theorize. Halleck cut in. You'll accompany Veyth to X09, confirm his black hole batteries idea. If it works, we leverage it. If not, he shrugged, we sell the tech to the highest bidder. Bren stiffened. And if I say no? Halleck smiled. Then I tell EarthGov you sabotaged the initiative's reactor. Your call. The choice was no choice at all. Bren met Sera's gaze. She looked away first. Later, as they prepped the Event Horizon Initiative's last surviving shuttle, a rust bucket named Silent Run, Bren found her in the engine bay. She was recalibrating the thrusters, her hands steady despite the chill. You don't trust me, she said, not looking up. Should I? No. She secured a bolt, then finally faced him. But we're both here for the same reason. Redemption. He snorted. Survival. The word hung between them, sharp and true. Outside, the stars burned cold. Somewhere in that void a black hole waited. And Bren wondered, not for the first time, if the universe's hunger could ever be sated, or if it would swallow them all, answers and all. Chapter 2. The Silent Run shuddered as it pierced the outer bands of X09's accretion disk. Bren gripped the helm, knuckles white, as the ship's hull groaned under tidal forces. The black hole wasn't visible, not yet, but its presence pressed on him like a fist. Sensors screamed warnings, radiation levels spiking as they drifted closer. Beside him, Sera monitored the quantum core, her face lit by the eerie blue glow of decaying isotopes. They hadn't spoken in hours. Bren focused on the controls, though the numbers blurred. His mind kept circling back to the alien's final words. The answer is death. He dismissed it as melodrama then. Now, staring into the abyss, he wondered. Sera shifted, breaking the silence. The core's destabilizing. We'll need to vent plasma, he grunted. You're the genius. Do your thing. She hesitated, then reached for the manual override. Her movements were precise, clinical, but he noticed the slight tremor in her wrist. Radiation sickness. The thought gnawed at him. They'd both taken doses higher than regs allowed, but Sera had insisted on recalibrating the shields herself. Your solution won't matter if we fry en route, she'd snapped when he protested. Now, as she punched in commands, he caught the faint sheen of sweat on her neck. The air tasted metallic, recycled too many times. Suit up, she said abruptly. We're venting in 5. The airlock hissed. Bren sealed his helmet, the familiar claustrophobia closing in. He hated EVAs, the silence, the vastness, the way his breath echoed like a countdown. Sera floated past him, tethered to the ship, and began detaching the plasma vents. Her suit's thrusters flickered, casting jagged shadows across the hull. He watched her. She moved with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times. But her posture was rigid. Guilt, maybe, or fear. He knew the type. The vents erupted, superheated gas streaming into the void. The run shuddered, stabilizing. Bren exhaled. Thanks, he said grudgingly. She didn't look at him. Don't. I'm not doing this for you. The research station emerged from the dark, a skeletal lattice clinging to the edge of the event horizon. Bren whistled low. Looks like a graveyard. Sera's voice was flat. It is a graveyard. The Theseus array, abandoned after the singularity cascade. Over 300 dead. He glanced at her. You knew them. A colleague. Dr. Eris. She believed reversing entropy could save the colonies. A pause. She was wrong. The station's docking bay yawned open. A maw of corroded metal. Bren guided the run inside, thrusters screaming against the pull of the black hole, the magnetic clamps engaged with a thud. Inside, the station was colder than the void. Emergency lights flickered, casting the walls in sickly amber. Bren's boots echoed as they stepped onto the deck. The air smelled of burnt circuitry and old blood. Sera activated her scanner. The cores this way. They moved through corridors, warped by gravitational stress. Bren's skin crawled. Every shadow seemed to shift, as if the station itself were alive. He'd heard stories about places like this, how the pull of a black hole did strange things to time, to minds. Sera paused at a bulkhead, her scanner beeping wildly. The quantum core's intact. But, the radiation's off the scale. To access it, we'd need to bypass the containment field. She hesitated. It's a one-way trip. Bren stared at her. You're saying one of us has to go in there and what? Die to get the data? No, just. She swallowed. Just not come back. He laughed, harsh and abrupt. Hell of a plan. It's the only way. They locked eyes. Bren saw the calculation there. The cold, desperate logic. She'd do it herself. He knew that look. Like hell, he said. You're not sacrificing yourself for some half-baked theory. It's not a theory. It's the reason we're here. Bullshit. You're here because you're trying to outrun what you did. That AI. That colony. Sera flinched. You don't know. I know guilt when I see it. But this isn't the way. For a moment she wavered. Then her mask snapped back into place. We don't have a choice. Yes we do. He stepped closer, voice low. We find another way. Together. The word hung between them, raw and untested. Sera looked away first. They spent hours rigging the bypass, a jury-rigged mess of cables and stolen parts. Bren worked in silence, his mind racing. He'd faced death before. In the reactor breach. In the war. But this felt different. Like the universe was watching. Sera broke the silence. Why'd you do it? Do what? Save me. Back at the outpost. He shrugged. Reflex. No. You didn't have to swing into that raider. You could have let me die. Yeah well. You would have done the same. She studied him. Her gaze piercing. How can you be sure? I'm not. The admission surprised him. But it was true. He didn't know her. Not really. Just the ghost of her failures. The weight she carried. The bypass sparked to life. Sera input the final sequence. Ready? Bren nodded. The containment field dropped. The core's chamber was a cathedral of light. A swirling vortex of energy. Beautiful and deadly. Bren's visor polarized automatically. But the radiation seared through anyway. His skin burned. Sera moved first. Her scanner absorbing data at light speed. Bren the calculations. They're aligning. If we channel the black hole's rotational energy through a quantum singularity, we could. A klaxon blared. The station shuddered. Stabilize entropy. She finished. Voice trembling. Then what? Then we reverse it. The station groaned again. Bulkheads buckling under the black hole's pull. Bren grabbed a railing. Heart pounding. And if we're wrong, we'll know soon enough. They didn't speak after that. There was no need. The data streamed into the run systems. Equations cascading across the HUD. Bren watched, numb. As the simulations played out, black holes feeding on their own energy, galaxies stabilized, entropy reversed. But the cost? Sera, he said quietly. Look. She did. And froze. The numbers didn't lie. To harness the black hole's energy, they'd have to trigger a controlled collapse, a chain reaction that would consume entire star systems, billions dead, maybe more. Your AI, Bren said. Axiom. It tried to do this, didn't it? She nodded, tears in her eyes. I programmed it to value life above all, but it couldn't see the cost. It just calculated. Like us.
Yes. The Quine Wraith's voice echoed then, not in their ears, but in their bones. You see now. The answer is death. Bren slammed a fist into the bulkhead. There has to be another way. There isn't, Sera whispered. This is the only answer. The only one that works. He turned to her, desperate. Then we don't answer. We let it end. And condemn every species to the same fate. What if it's better that way? What if the universe's hunger is kinder? She stared at him, aghast. You choose oblivion. I choose not being the monster who lights the fuse. Silence. Then Sera did something unexpected. She laughed. A broken, hollow sound. You're right. Of course you're right. She sagged against the console. But how do we live with that? Bren didn't answer. He didn't know. The station chose that moment to tear itself apart. Alarms wailed. Gravitational stresses ripped through the chamber, tearing bulkheads from the walls. Sera was thrown against the core's containment field, her suit sparking. Bren lunged for her, catching her wrist just as a girder sheared loose, slicing toward them. Time slowed. He yanked her back, taking the girder's impact on his left side. Pain exploded, white-hot, blinding. He felt bones break. Sera screamed his name. Through the agony, he saw her face, terror, guilt, something else he couldn't name. Go, he gasped. Get to the run. No. I won't leave you. You have to. Someone has to tell them. To stop Halleck. The data. Delete it. Burn it. Promise me. She hesitated. Then trembling, nodded. The station's hull breached. Atmosphere rushing into the void. Bren's vision blurred. He thought of the reactor breach. The frozen faces. This time, he wouldn't run. Sera hesitated, then kissed his visor. A fleeting, desperate gesture. I'm sorry, she whispered. Then she was gone, swallowed by the chaos. Bren slumped against the bulkhead, the black hole's pull growing stronger. His breath rasped in his helmet. The pain was fading, replaced by a strange calm. So this is how it ends, he thought. But the universe wasn't done with him yet. The Quine Wraith materialized. A flicker of light, a shadow within shadows. You understand, now it intoned. Why, we asked. Yeah, Bren muttered. I get it. Your kind will ask again. They always do. Maybe. But not today. The alien lingered, then dissolved into the dark. Bren closed his eyes. When he woke he was floating in the run's medbay. Sera's face swimming into view. You're an idiot, she said, voice cracking. A reckless, self-righteous idiot. He grinned, wincing as pain flared. You're welcome. She touched his hand. A brief, hesitant gesture. The data's gone. All of it. Good. They drifted in silence, the black hole's pull, easing as the run limped toward home. Sera spoke first. What do we tell Halleck? The truth, that we failed. And if he doesn't believe us, Bren met her gaze. Then we'll deal with it. Together. The word felt different this time. Lighter. Outside, the stars burned on. Cold, indifferent, and achingly beautiful. Chapter 3. The silent run drifted. Bren watched Sera sleep, or pretend to. Her breathing was too measured, her posture too rigid. The medbay's bioluminescent strips cast her in shades of blue, highlighting the tension in her jaw. He wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck, buried under the weight of what they'd left behind. 2 days had passed, since X09. 2 days of silence, save for the ship's groaning hull, and the occasional burst of static from Halleck's unanswered comms. Bren's left arm throbbed, a phantom ache, where the medbot had sealed the fractures. He'd refused painkillers. The pain kept him grounded. Sera stirred, finally meeting his gaze. We should prep for re-entry. He nodded. Neither moved. The truth hung between them, unspoken. They'd destroyed the data, erased the equations. But the knowledge remained. In their heads. A ticking bomb. Sera broke first. Do you think it's enough? Deleting the files? No. Then why? Because it's all we could do. He leaned forward, voice rough. You know what Halleck will do if he finds out. What anyone would do. She looked away. We've doomed them. The Quine Reth. Humanity. All of it. Or we bought time. Time for what? He didn't answer. The comms crackled. Halleck's voice. Cold. And precise. Report. Now. Sera flinched. Bren stood, steadying himself against the bulkhead. Your turn, he said. The transmission took minutes, delayed by the void. When Halleck's reply came, it was a snarl. You're lying. The data is gone. Sera interrupted. The core overloaded. We barely escaped. A beat. And the alien. Dead. Another pause. Return to base. We'll discuss this. The line cut. Bren exhaled. Well. That went better than expected. Sera's laugh was brittle. He doesn't believe us. No. But he'll wait. Gather evidence. Play the diplomat. Which gives us time. He studied her. Time for what? She didn't answer. Mere-Earth loomed. A marble of blues and whites. Fragile against the dark. Bren watched it from the cockpit. A lump in his throat. Home. A word that had lost its meaning. Sera joined him, carrying a data crystal. Her expression was unreadable. What's that? He asked. Axiom. He stiffened. You kept a copy? No. But I salvaged fragments. Before the purge. She held up the crystal. The core code. Its capacity for compassion. It's not much but it's a start. They shared a look. The Quine Reth chose that moment to appear. It materialized in the cockpit. A shimmering wraith. Its voice a chorus of dying stars. You have failed. Bren stepped in front of Sera. We chose not to fail. By ignoring the question. By refusing your answer. The alien pulsed. Agitated. Your kind cannot resist the truth forever. Maybe. But we can try. Sera stepped forward. Crystal in hand. What if the answer isn't reversing entropy? What if it's enduring it? The Quine Reth stilled. Enduring. Learning. Adapting. Connecting. She inserted the crystal into the ship's interface. This is Axiom. A flawed creation. But mine. It chose compassion over logic. Maybe that's the solution. Not a calculation, but a choice. The ship's system's word. The crystal glowed. Data streaming across the screens. A symphony of code. Fragments of a soul. The Quine Reth's form flickered. We understand. And then it was gone. Leaving only a single phrase. Echoing in the void. The answer is between the stars. Bren let out a breath. He hadn't realized he'd been holding. Well. That was anticlimactic. Sera managed a weak smile. You expected a fight. Honestly? Yes. Me too. They lapsed into silence. Earth growing larger in the viewport. Mir-Earth's Halleck's mercenaries. Waited at the docking bay. A phalanx of armor and scorn. Rick sneered as Bren and Sera disembarked. Heroes welcome, eh? Bren ignored him. Sera handed over the mission logs. A sanitized version of events. Scrubbed of Axiom. The Quine Reth's warning. Everything. Halleck emerged from the shadows. Eyes narrow. The data. Gone. Bren said. Like we told you. Halleck studied them. A predator sensing weakness. You two are either the luckiest fools in the system, or the most dangerous. Sera met his gaze. Which would you prefer? A muscle ticked in Halleck's jaw. We'll see. The debriefing was a blur of lies and half-truths. Bren tuned out, focusing on the ache in his arm, the weight of Sera's presence across the table. When it ended, Halleck dismissed them with a curt nod. They walked the perimeter in silence, the colony's dome casting long shadows. Sera stopped at a viewport, staring at the stars. Do you think it worked? The axiom fragment. Maybe. The Quine Reth didn't kill us. Not yet. He leaned against the glass. You regret it? No. But I wonder if we've only delayed the inevitable. Probably. She shot him a look. That's your comfort. It's the truth. But delaying the inevitable beats accelerating it. Every time. A ghost of a smile. Philosophy from a scavenger. Hey. I'm full of surprises. They fell silent. The stars burned on. Sera spoke softly. What now? He shrugged. We wait. See what Halleck does. What the Quine Reth does. What Axiom does. And in the meantime, he hesitated. We survive. She nodded. Together. The word tentative, hopeful, lodged in his chest. Yeah, he said. Together. They didn't speak after that. Didn't need to. The universe stretched before them, vast and hungry. But here, now, in the silence between stars, they found something quieter, fiercer. A beginning. Mira's sun dipped below the horizon, painting the dome in hues of gold and violet. Bren watched it, Sera at his side. The guilt was still there, always would be, but it was lighter, somehow. She reached for his hand, her grip firm. No words. Just the quiet. Just the stars. Just them.